Ohio State will be looking for a new starting quarterback next season. That's because Kyle McCord is hitting the transfer portal. That's the latest from our friends at 24/7 Sports. He was the Buckeyes' starting quarterback this past season, throwing for 24 touchdowns and just 6 interceptions. McCord will not be available for Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl against Missouri. And for more, we welcome in national college football writer for 24/7 Sports, Chris Hummer. Chris, Kyle McCord threw for over 3,000 yards and 24 touchdowns for the Buckeyes this season, with his only loss coming to Michigan. What was your reaction to McCord opting to transfer, and where do the Buckeyes turn from here at the quarterback position?
Well, my honest reaction was, why so early? Because it popped up at 5 Central Time this morning, and that was like a little early for my taste. But overall, a little surprised, but not shocked. There had been some scuttle behind the scenes that Ohio State and Kyle McCord might end up in a divorce. Kyle McCord was very good for Ohio State this year, but that's not really the standard in Columbus. The standard is Heisman Trophy contention. The standard is C.J. Stroud. The standard is Justin Fields. And Kyle McCord was very good this year, but not up to that level. And I think it really cost Ohio State at the margins this season. And when you're trying to beat Michigan and you've lost to Michigan 3 years in a row, you can't afford a lot of error at the margins. And thus, Kyle McCord ends up in the portal, and I would expect Ohio State to attempt to upgrade. That's not always the easiest thing to say. Kyle McCord was very good this year, but it's quite clear, based on how this has played out, that Ohio State does think it can improve on its quarterback room via the portal.
Okay, how about another high-profile quarterback entering the portal? Oklahoma's Dillon Gabriel. He has 1 year of eligibility left after throwing for 30 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, leading the Sooners to a 10-2 record. What are some of the top landing spots for Gabriel in your mind?
I think I would keep an eye on Oregon here. I know Mississippi State's the natural connection. His former offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, Jeff Lebby, is now the head coach at Mississippi State. That makes all the sense in the world. In fact, Jeff Lebby was the reason Dillon Gabriel came to Oklahoma in the first place. He was headed likely to UCLA, and then Jeff Lebby got to Oklahoma, and Dillon Gabriel flipped at the last second to go to Norman. And he could have that type of impact on Gabriel again, but just reading the tea leaves out there, I think Oregon is in really good shape on this one potentially. Bo Nix is leaving for the NFL draft. The Ducks have a need at that position. And Dillon Gabriel, originally from Hawaii, grew up watching Marcus Mariota like a lot of other kids in Hawaii did, has probably a connection to that program a little bit, and I think it could be a really natural fit between the two parties.
Yeah, a lot of former Ducks hailing from that region. Okay, well, Chris, we're seeing a record number of players entering the portal. What's been your reaction to all of this, and what does this mean for college football going forward?
It's the new norm. This is what college football was at this point. Under the portal, well over 1,000 players overall on the day, and as you said, it's a record-setting day in the transfer portal for the total number of entrants. Part of that is because of portal windows, it naturally forces players to go in a shorter amount of time frame. But in reality, this is just college football now. Transferring and building a roster through the transfer portal used to be a novelty. Now it's a proven strategy of roster construction. Look at Florida State winning the ACC and going 13-0. They're built on the back of the transfer portal. Look at SMU, won the AAC, built on the back of the transfer portal. You could say that about a lot of programs in recent years that have made successful runs in their conferences, and that's because transferring is normal. It's normal for players too. Players no longer think of transferring as taboo. It is something you actively do in your process, and a lot of times it's leverage. So that's just where we're at in college football right now. It says that we have a jumbo-sized version of free agency, and that's what the transfer portal is. It's just free agency, and it's a heck of a lot more hectic than free agency ever is in the NBA or the NFL, because you've got 133 teams, and you've got 85 scholarship players on every team. And it creates chaos like we saw today, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
A jumbo version of free agency. I like how you put that. It's the new norm in college football. Well, at Texas, all signs point to Quinn Ewers returning to his school for his redshirt junior season. Despite that, you reported, Chris, that Arch Manning is expected to remain with the Longhorns, despite the fact he's unlikely to be the starter. What more can you tell us about this situation in Austin?
Oh, I would first say, like, this is not, I don't think this is a secret. Like, if you're around Austin, Texas, and you know anything about the Longhorn program, like it's pretty clear that Arch Manning is quite content at Texas. I don't think he was ever in a hurry to move on. He came to Texas knowing he would redshirt. That's never been a problem, and I don't think he's going to have a problem sitting for another year. He came to Texas to play for Steve Sarkisian, to be in this offense, and Steve Sarkisian's not going anywhere, so I don't anticipate Arch Manning going anywhere. I think the actual quarterback to watch in Texas's room is Malik Murphy. He's kind of the middle ground between those two. Arch Manning's the future, Quinn Ewers is the present. If Quinn Ewers comes back, something has to give in the middle of that. And Malik Murphy, a talented signal caller from California, I think is a very possible transfer portal player later. But as for Arch Manning, the guy that I know everybody wants to talk about, I don't anticipate him moving on from Texas after this season.